People believe they get hurt by words, actions, situations, or other people. That is false. Most of what you experience as pain has nothing to do with what is happening now. It has everything to do with how your mind processes meaning, memory, and reaction. In this video, I am going to share 5 rules that explain why people feel hurt, offended, or controlled, and how that power quietly leaves them without them noticing. Rule number 1. Everyone is stuck in their own heads. Every single human being you have ever met, and every human being you will ever meet, is living inside a carefully crafted and constructed version of reality that exists only in their own mind, shaped by their memories, experiences, fears, desires, beliefs, and unexamined emotional patterns accumulated over their lifetime. No two human beings are experiencing this life in the same way, because no two minds have gone through the same events, absorbed the same interpretations, or developed the same internal narratives about what the world is and what it means. Life itself is filled with suffering, uncertainty, loss, disappointment, trauma, and pressure. And the majority of people move through their entire lives without ever taking a moment to sit down with their own thoughts and emotions to examine what is shaping them, why they feel the way they feel, or how much of their inner world is operating on autopilot. In other words, most people are prisoners of their own minds, trapped inside invisible prisons that they cannot see, cannot name, and rarely question, yet still live fully within the boundaries and chains imposed by those internal structures. Because of this, it is essential to remember one fundamental truth that changes how you relate to everyone and everything around you. Nothing is ever personal. No word you hear, no tone you receive, and no reaction directed at you, whether it comes from your partner, your parent, your friend, a stranger, or your boss, is ever truly about you as a person or about your actual essence. Every reaction you encounter is simply a reflection of the other person's inner conflicts, unresolved pain, emotional conditioning, self-image, and the private story they are constantly living inside their own head. No matter how close you are to someone, and no matter how long you have known them, you can never fully grasp another human being's inner world because you are not living inside their mind, carrying their memories, or feeling their unresolved emotions. When you understand this deeply, you stop absorbing other people's projections as truth, and you stop allowing their internal chaos to define your sense of worth, direction, or emotional state. Nothing people express toward you is about who you are at your core. It is always about what they are feeling about themselves in the moment they interact with you. And once this understanding settles in, taking things personally becomes unnecessary, exhausting, and eventually impossible. Rule number 2. You have control over your own feelings. The world you live in is chaotic by nature, and no amount of affirmations, positive thinking, or spiritual language can change the reality that when you interact with society and other human beings, you are consistently exposed to the darker sides of human behavior far more often than to its idealized versions. People lie, manipulate, steal, cheat, act violently, express hatred, project insecurity, and act from fear or emotional immaturity without hesitation, while qualities such as understanding, compassion, responsibility, and emotional awareness require effort, discipline, and a willingness to go through an internal process that the majority of people never choose to face. Because of this imbalance, it is not reasonable to base your emotional stability, inner peace, or sense of self on the outside world, especially in an environment where most individuals are lost inside their own unresolved mental and emotional patterns. When your feelings are shaped primarily by external reactions, opinions, behaviors, and circumstances, your inner state becomes unstable by default because the outside world is unstable, unpredictable, and largely unconscious. This is why understanding the nature of feelings is essential. Feelings are not the definition of who you are, nor are they a reliable measure of truth, identity, or character, because emotions function as tools through which you experience reality rather than as the foundation of your existence. An emotion can be intense, overwhelming, or persistent without representing who you are at your core, because it is only one layer of your experience and not the totality of your being. When you begin to observe your emotions instead of immediately reacting to them, when you start noticing how they arise, shift, intensify, and dissolve, and when you pay attention to how emotions move between people through tone, body language, words, and situations, you gradually develop distance between yourself and what you feel. This distance does not remove emotions from your life, but it allows you to engage with them consciously rather than being consumed by them unconsciously. Through this process, you start to recognize patterns in your emotional responses, understand why certain situations trigger specific feelings, and see how much of your emotional experience is shaped by interpretation rather than by reality itself. As this understanding deepens, control naturally follows, not as suppression or resistance, but as awareness, regulation, and choice. At that point, one fact becomes clear. You do not have control over reality, over events, or over how other people behave, but you do have the ability to shape how your feelings are formed from your experiences within that reality. And that ability is what determines whether the world controls you or whether you remain internally free within it. Rule number 3. Emotional pain is stored memory, not present reality. Think back to a moment when you said something simple, neutral, or without any harmful intention, yet the person in front of you reacted with an intensity that felt completely disproportionate to what was actually said. In that moment, you likely felt confused, surprised, or even shocked, because from your perspective, there was nothing offensive, aggressive, or emotionally charged in your words that could justify such a strong reaction. Situations like this reveal something important about emotions. Emotions can be simple to observe on the surface, yet extremely complex beneath it, because what appears as a reaction to the present moment is often not connected to the present at all. Every human being carries layers of repressed feelings and unresolved emotional experiences that have accumulated over years of living, relationships, disappointments, losses, and moments where emotions could not be expressed safely or fully. These emotions do not disappear. They are stored in the unconscious mind and often in the body itself, remaining hidden for long periods of time, sometimes for decades, and in many cases, for an entire lifetime. Although they stay buried, they do not stay inactive. They resurface when triggered, sometimes by something extremely small, a word, a tone, a facial expression, or a situation that even slightly resembles a past experience connected to that emotional pain. When that happens, the person is no longer responding to what is actually happening now, but to a memory that their system believes is happening again. Because these emotions have been avoided, suppressed, or buried for so long, they become something the person instinctively defends against, deflects away from, or reacts aggressively to, rather than something they are willing or able to face directly. What most people fail to realize is that emotional pain is not a life sentence. It is not something that must be carried forever, and it is not something that needs to define a person's character, behavior, or identity. Emotional pain is simply stored experience, waiting to be understood, processed, and released. When this truth is not recognized, people continue to relive the same emotional reactions again and again, mistaking past memories for present reality and projecting unresolved pain onto current situations and relationships. Freedom begins with honesty. Honesty with yourself about what you feel, where it comes from, and how much of it belongs to the past rather than the present moment. When you commit to knowing yourself more deeply each day you are alive, you gradually loosen the grip of old narratives, emotional patterns, and unconscious reactions. Through this process, presence becomes possible, awareness expands, and the weight of past emotional pain slowly dissolves, allowing you to experience reality as it is rather than as it once was. Rule number 4. Meaning is optional, not mandatory. Human beings are programmed to search for patterns, and in many ways we are perfect pattern recognition machines that constantly scan reality to find order, repetition, cycles, and connections between events, people, and experiences. Because of this ability, the mind almost immediately tries to assign meaning to whatever it cannot fully understand in the moment, often pushing that meaning onto something larger, higher, or external in order to feel a sense of clarity, direction, or comfort. This tendency feels natural, but an important detail is often overlooked. Yes, reality is filled with loops, cycles, and repeating systems, some small and personal, others vast and structural. And when observed closely, almost every aspect of existence appears to operate in some form of repetition. But the presence of loops does not automatically imply the existence of a grand meaning or a master plan behind everything. Ants exist, bees exist, and countless other forms of life exist as part of larger ecosystems. Yet their existence does not require a personal narrative, a spiritual mission, or a cosmic justification in order to function or belong. They are simply elements within a system, playing their role without needing to explain themselves. Human beings struggle deeply with this idea. Because the mind cannot easily accept existence without explanation, cultures are created, stories are written, religions are formed, and belief systems are built, all in an effort to elevate the meanings we assign to patterns into something grand, purposeful, and absolute. And yet, this is where another trap quietly forms. The constant need to assign meaning to everything can become a burden rather than a gift. When every experience must symbolize something greater, when every hardship must teach a lesson, and when every moment must point toward a higher purpose, life turns into an exhausting search instead of a lived experience. The truth is simple and unsettling at the same time. Not everything needs to mean something. Meaning is not mandatory for existence to be valid. The moment you realize that you do not need to extract purpose from every event, person, or emotion, a new form of freedom opens up. Life no longer becomes a chase for answers, signs, or higher approval, but a direct experience that unfolds naturally without constant interpretation. In that state, you stop running after meaning and start moving with reality itself. You do not disappear into nothingness. You simply take your place within the whole, exactly as you always have been, without needing to justify your existence through stories, symbols, or beliefs. Rule number 5. Reactions give people power over you. Before language ever existed, emotions were already the primary way human beings communicated with each other, using sounds, facial expressions, body posture, and instinctive reactions to signal fear, safety, anger, happiness, sadness, or threat as a direct result of interaction. That same mechanism is still fully present today. In reality, human beings communicate far more through emotional signals than through words themselves, even though most people are not consciously aware of it. You can say the exact same sentence, such as, "I am looking at the birds," with an angry tone, a sad tone, a joyful tone, a frustrated tone, or a fearful tone, and in each case, the meaning received by the other person changes completely. The words stay the same, but the emotional charge reshapes the message. Because of this, human communication is less about what is said and more about how it is emotionally delivered and emotionally received. In everyday interactions, people constantly scan for subtle emotional cues in others in order to understand them, connect with them, predict their behavior, or, in some cases, influence and manipulate the outcome of the interaction. Most people do not do this consciously. It happens automatically and quietly, beneath awareness. However, there is a clear pattern to how this exchange works. In almost every interaction, people express emotions with an expectation of receiving a specific emotional response in return. When someone shares their happiness about buying a new house, they expect excitement, validation, or shared joy in response. When someone expresses sadness, they expect empathy, concern, or emotional alignment, not laughter or indifference. In every interaction, an emotional exchange is taking place, whether acknowledged or not. This dynamic becomes especially important when dealing with emotionally unstable, toxic, or psychologically wounded individuals. These people carry unresolved emotional pain inside themselves, often without understanding or acknowledging it, and instead of facing it internally, they attempt to release it outward. They project what they feel about themselves onto others. By placing that emotional weight onto someone else, the burden feels lighter for them because the pain is no longer contained within their own inner world. This is why such individuals use blame, shame, guilt, hostility, or emotional pressure as tools. They may not always do it consciously, but they know exactly what emotion they want to trigger in you because it mirrors what they are already experiencing inside themselves. The anger they provoke, the guilt they induce, or the fear they create is simply their internal state externalized. Once you understand this mechanism, the dynamic changes completely. When you recognize that someone is attempting to extract a specific emotional reaction from you, you gain the ability to stop feeding the exchange. You no longer need to participate in the emotional game they are playing. Silence, disengagement, emotional neutrality, or even responding with an unexpected emotional tone often neutralizes their behavior entirely. Because without your reaction, they lose their leverage. And without leverage, they lose power.